Faith is a lifestyle. It is the mountain on which you stand that makes you believe that a dream is actually attainable. It is a concrete evidence that makes the logically impossible seem completely tangible. It seemed hopeless, but faith. I can't prove it, but faith. I can't explain it, but my faith has given me peace.
I'm a Christian with $100 million vision. Can nobody box me and say that's a contradiction? Goal driven, God just blessed me with the ambition. Look up when the rest, he rests the definition.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Elevation Podcast. My name is Shawn Riff-Raff, and I am definitely excited about today. This is the end of a good series. This is the end of the Love Month series. And man, it has been such a refreshing a learning process. A lot of couples have come on, have given us a lot of good advice, a lot of good thoughts to think about. One of the things I feel like I have definitely, if there is something to learn from Love Month, I feel like I have learned that everyone wants to give you the quote unquote real about what it is to be in love and what it is to be married and all of that stuff. And they almost give you a negative thought about it. But these couples have really come on and given us the real, but also said that it's really awesome. And that has been, I think, one of the things about Love Month. If I got something to take away from just having, just being a part of this here Love Month, it has been that love is good, marriage is great, it is possible, it is wonderful. Tonight I have something special, and it's crazy because I had a couple that was coming, and his wife fell ill, and she couldn't make it, and there's always backup things that you can do. There's always like backup couples and stuff like that. But I thought that it would be really good to have someone to have my man on anyway. To have my man on anyway, just to chat with us, just to have a really cool conversation for the kings out here. And he has a really good ministry. He has a really good brand called Good Men Do Exist. And that brand is, it's really for the kings out here. And so I'm ready to do this. We're ready to do this. This is the Elevation Podcast. My name is Shawn Riff-Raff at www.shawnriffraff.com. Let's go. It happens.
Hey, it's all good.
Oh, my God. Welcome to the Elevation Podcast. My name is Shawn Riff-Raff, and we are definitely here today to really try to, get inspired. I don't know about technical problems happening in the beginning, so I don't know, Jeff. It's because of you, and that I'm gonna tell you right now, it's because of you, and for some reason, the devil don't want this conversation to happen.
Huh.
Oh, he wanted it to happen and be real messed up, so people turn it off. You know what I mean? That's how it.
He can try. He tries it sometimes.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to have you here.
Oh man,
I'm sorry that your wife couldn't make it today. But yeah, like I told you, telling me and my wife are praying for her.
Thank you so much. Yes, I love my sweetheart, and I think it's my fault because I was sick a few days ago,
Really?
and I think I passed my germs on to her unintentionally, of
Yeah,
course.
it's
So.
your fault. It's always your fault.
Right. It's all, fellas, it's always your fault. Remember that.
Yeah.
When you say I do, you're wrong. Okay?
It's always gonna be your
You're
fault.
wrong. No, no.
I mean,
sure.
I do. I mean, I do apologize because I was wrong. Before we really jump into, everything that we want to talk about today,
Yes.
I want to first put into some context and just to get into context, who is Jeff Tyler?
Yeah.
I want to put that into context first. Well, I know how I met you.
Right.
You were on the radio station a while. Back in the day.
Yeah.
And me and you had a great conversation on the radio, and that was, that's how I kind of met you. But just, a lot of people don't remember that, or they weren't around back then.
Yeah.
So in context, who is Jeff? Where'd you come from? And let's start there. Let's start with that.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for having me here,
Man, my
on
pleasure.
the Elevation Podcast. I mean, I'm honored. I walked in here and I felt good. I don't know. It's been a great day. But
Yeah,
first, who is Jeff Tyler? Wow. First, I'm a man of God. That's who. That's all, everything centers around identity,
Right.
And everything we do, who we are, what we say, it hinges on our view of our identity. And so,
Right.
first, I'm a man of God. I am a proud husband to Jennifer Lucy Tyler. I love you, baby. And I've been married for 8 years.
Okay.
8 years. It'll be 9 coming up really soon. But I'm grateful for that. Also, I'm a minister of the gospel. I'm the founder, as you said earlier, of Good Men Do Exist, which is a gentleman's lifestyle brand and a movement designed to do several things. One is to encourage, empower, and equip. I call it the 3 E's. Encourage, empower, and equip men to be all that they were created to be in many different ways, through creating safe places, safe spaces for men to become healthy, to become whole, to be the men that can make impact in their homes, in their communities. I'm also a third grade teacher.
Oh, sweet.
In fact, I just came from school. We're rehearsing, as you know, for a Black History Month program coming up in 2 days.
Yes.
So I'm doing that. I enjoy ministering the gospel, speaking, also being a motivational speaker as well. And I enjoy just loving my family, loving people, giving to my community. Also, I've been in ministry for several years. I was a pastor on staff and a ministry leader in several churches.
Gotcha.
Even prior to being in education, I worked with youth for 8+ years in youth development. I've worked in group homes. I've been an assistant dean of students. And so just had a number of roles, just trying to work on empowering men, empowering youth. And again, my passion is really just encouraging men and equipping men, helping youth, speaking, and just sharing the gospel wherever I go. And just also being able to be vulnerable about my weaknesses, my struggles, and the things that I've dealt with to help people go to a different level.
That's so, I am, one of the things that I have been just thinking about as we go through Love Month.
Yes.
And one of the really important reasons to bring you here, even though Love Month was the couples and all of that stuff, is I think that there is sort of a misunderstanding of men as it pertains to things like love.
Wow.
And things like relationships, and
Right.
even I think it's a misunderstanding of manhood in general.
Absolutely.
And what it really means to really be a man.
Yeah.
And to really be a leader. And I think one thing I touched on with Pastor Kimani and co-pastor Rachel when they came 2 weeks ago was, what it meant, what submission really means. And
You about to open a can of worms right now. You already know.
and what submission really means.
Right.
But I want to start, like, that's where I want the context of the conversation to start. Like, what is it when dealing with being married and being in love, tell me this: what is the love story between you and Lucy from your point of view?
Wow. Oh man. I met my wife in church. Let's say that.
Okay.
Several years ago we were in church and I met her, and first we were friends.
Okay.
We started off as friends. We went out in groups. And before you know it, we started developing this strong friendship. And I know she's probably watching right now, so I'm going to tell this story right. I'm going to get this right, or else I'm going to see a text in a minute. But so first we started off as friends.
Right.
And all of a sudden, as we got close, we modeled in this organization that promoted sexual purity, still living. Shout out to Worth the Wait, Dr. Lindsay Warren and Gareth Warren, of course.
Yeah,
we were a part of the Worth the Wait movement. And it's funny because I would say that was the breeding ground for our love to grow. And I mean, just being together, like-minded, having the same friends,
Right.
having similar purpose. And all of a sudden, this friendship grows. And one day I called her and told her, I feel like I can trust you with my life. And the crazy thing, other people could see it. What'd you say?
No, go ahead. No, I'm with it.
Right. I told her this. And we just... talking on the phone for an hour became 2 hours, became 3 hours. We talked about life, about our purpose, the things that we were passionate about. And one day before you know it, I mean, and my friends, my boys are coming to me like, Jeff, when you going to ask her out? We can all see what's going on here.
Right.
Stop playing. And then, funny, true story. I was praying because this is the thing, and people can call it super deep or super spiritual. I believe in Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added. So I would.
Well, man, if that's super deep, I have no.
Everybody's like, "Hey, that's not my story."
I mean, no. If that's super,
Right.
if that's super deep, I mean,
Right.
You know, if that's super deep, then I don't know what to say. I'm overly deep.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
and I say that because, there's some people that will look at this and just like, hey, that's not my story. But you know what? That's okay. This is ours, and this is our story. And
Right.
so I believe in seeking God first. So I prayed. I said, God, is this the woman that you wanted me to date? Because I don't want to waste my time or another woman's heart or emotions dating when it's not leading anywhere.
Listen,
Because I had done that before.
I should have done that a bunch of times. Actually, that's never mind.
Oh, we're gonna get to your
I'm gonna say,
story.
man, go ahead.
But no, absolutely, man. So I prayed. I said, God, I was sitting on the sofa in my house. I said, God, I really like Jennifer. I really care for her, like, deeply. I feel like I'm really falling in love with her or growing in love with her. And should I ask her out? I just want to be sensitive to your time and your purpose for my life.
Right.
And one thing I knew about Jennifer, this I'm dating myself, but Transformers 2 was in the theaters.
Okay.
And she wanted to go see that movie. She mentioned that a couple times. She said, I can't wait to see that. I'd love to go see that. This is before a dating conversation even came up. So I'm sitting on the sofa. I said, God, should I take her out? The Transformers trailer comes on TV 3 times back to back.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, what in the world? That doesn't usually happen.
Right.
And I don't ascribe everything to, not being superstitious, but for
Right.
some reason that resonated with me.
Right.
And so I was in the barbershop the next day. I pick up the phone. I call her and I said, look, I apologize for doing this last minute because this is not how I usually do things, but will you go out with me tonight? That was 5 hours prior. So I heard about 10 seconds of silence. And I'm like, okay, brother was shooting a shot. Did I miss? Because it's like when you say I love you to somebody,
Right.
when we were growing up.
And it take 10 seconds.
And it take
for them
10
to say it
seconds.
back.
That was a killer.
Like, I shouldn't have said that.
I shouldn't have dang it.
Yes.
And the worst thing you would
Absolutely.
hear is, hey, when we were growing up, hey, I love you. And the girl says, okay. And you'd be like, oh, but she didn't do that. So 10 seconds goes by. She says, sure, I would love to. Now, brother, let me tell you something. That night, that date, I mean, it was more than what we bargained for, like, in a great way.
Okay.
It was one of the best moments of my life because at that point, I knew this was my wife.
Wow.
There was no going back. Before, I said she's potential to be my wife, and I had peace. But after that date,
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
That's how that happened.
She the one.
She the one. Yep.
Shut it down.
Right. That's it, your boy.
Hey, so, a lot of men misunderstand what it means to be in love. And I think a lot of men misunderstand what it means to be vulnerable to someone.
Right.
And then I think that just society in and of itself is almost these days very transactional. Right. It's like, the society is like transactional.
Absolutely.
And so for the man who, because I was having a conversation actually with Keisha the other day, and the other week maybe, but we were talking about, I was like, man, if you're not ready, it's okay to not be ready. But I find that a lot of times these days, men are not honest, with women, with each other about where they are, in their head. And I think that
I completely agree.
And then on top of not being honest about where you are, I think the pressure of the pressure of society saying that a man is supposed to, as if where you are is not good enough. Then there are some men who aren't purposely trying to not be honest, but it's like, yo, if I don't, at least act like I got it all together, then nobody want me. What, how is it when it comes down to men and vulnerability? Because love requires that. Like, it requires the vulnerability.
Absolutely.
But that's what I think one of men's hardest. As a man, it's very hard to be vulnerable just in this time. If you're walking a man through his process of dating and marriage, how would you walk a man through his process? Listen, if you've gotten past where you were at when you was like, this is my wife, how do you open up from that point?
Right. That's a very good question. And I'll say first that I know everybody's journey is different.
Absolutely.
But you have to start with having a healthy view of yourself first. Before you can ever have a healthy relationship with anyone, I encourage every man, you have to know your identity, because when you don't know your identity, anyone can identify you.
Right. And
it's difficult for a woman to come into submission to someone who doesn't know their mission.
Come on, man.
I'm telling you, walking through the journey.
Come on, man.
and there's several relationships that I believe every man has. Right. One is you have a relationship with yourself, relationship with family, with others. You have a relationship, if you have children, with your children. You have a relationship with your significant other or your wife. And there's a relationship that's also with other men, and a relationship with time, with time itself. And so I think in walking through that journey, the first thing, a lot of men have a hard time. We have a hard time being vulnerable and honest because first, we didn't grow up in a household seeing a father who is transparent and honest himself.
Right.
Some men don't know what vulnerability looks like.
Right.
They were taught through what they saw.
Right.
And so I was blessed, to be honest, where I had a dad who I have a very healthy relationship with him to this day. And, he's taught me just how to be a man and just, how to relate to others. And I'm grateful for that. But you have a lot of men that deal with a dynamic where, in this house, man up. Stop crying.
Right.
Real men don't cry. Get over it. Suck it up.
Right.
Stop looking. Don't be looking weak, son.
Right.
And that is what we see in the culture, that a lot of men are afraid of appearing weak or soft.
Right.
So, and there are men who want to be better husbands, want to be better fathers, want to be better men, but they feel like sharing that they're failing in an area or don't know how to do it doesn't look manly.
Right.
And so I think we have to first go back to redefining.
Right.
Because the culture has given us a definition of what that looks like. And it's sad because you mentioned this earlier about how we have become a culture that is great with using technological devices, with connecting with technological devices and using people instead of using devices and connecting with people. But in order to walk through a man, the first thing, every man, one, you need healthy accountability. I had that. Healthy accountability. Somebody that can call you, okay, how long you been out? Or you still over? Like, what's going on? How are you doing? How's your personal life? How are your finances?
Right.
What's going on? Brotherhood is one. Good counsel from other strong men.
Right.
Because every man needs another strong man who can that they can be vulnerable with and broken in front of without backlash or criticism.
Right. Ah. There is a, and I don't know why it's like this, where as a child, as a young man growing up, you will see the differences in raising men and women, or boys and girls, where you see someone, when a boy expresses hurt for something, the first thing you'll say is, man up, stop crying, men don't cry. So we came up with this idea that is not manly to express, touch on that. It is not manly
Absolutely.
to express emotions. What is what is the definition, in your opinion? What, you said you should find a strong man. What is it? What is a strong man?
Right.
Does a strong man not cry, or do you cry and then say, "I'll cry in front of you, but I'll punch you in the mouth"? Like,
Right.
So do you, like, sort of invalidate the crying part because does the punching part, like, does that represent strength? What does it mean to be strong, to be a strong man?
I when I think of strong, healthy manhood, I have to draw it back to a biblical definition of what manhood is. We look at Jesus because Jesus is the answer to all of our manhood issues.
Right.
He's the answer and the solution to every manhood issue we could ever face. And if we look at his life and how he patterned his life,
Right.
he was very expressive.
Right.
He cried at times.
Right.
He wept.
Right.
He wept for people. But this man was so strong, he sacrificed his entire life for humanity.
Right.
And the fact that he made such a great sacrifice, it shows us manhood, that he was willing to serve. He was willing to give of himself to others.
Right.
He went around. He made of himself of no reputation.
Right.
That's what the scripture talks about. And so when I think about manhood, like you said, we've associated manhood in the culture. Don't cry.
Right.
Don't look weak. Don't
Right.
appear soft.
Absolutely.
Because really, hiding behind that is fear.
Right.
We're really afraid, but men, we don't like to admit that we're afraid.
Absolutely.
We're afraid. And so it takes a strong man. And so if we don't learn how to be open and honest about what we're dealing with around healthy men, and I think the key is we need healthy relationships with other men too.
Right. Absolutely.
And we are so busy trying to be strong, isolating ourselves and doing everything on our own, that it's okay to say we need help.
Right.
And one thing I learned a long time ago, because in my house, the man who raised me as my dad is not like the man who physically birthed me, but that's
Right.
been my dad my entire life.
Right.
And I always say the men in your life don't have to be the men that birth you. They just have to be the men that love you.
Right. Absolutely. Man, that's good.
So, fellas, and that's the key, man, is just having those relationships, because it's hard for us to let our guards down.
Yeah.
And we have to be in an atmosphere and an environment where we feel comfortable to do that. And since this is Love Month, definitely, I even want to encourage the ladies that when us as men, the worst thing that can happen when we try to open up to you ladies is because you don't agree, is to be sarcastic or nasty and say, oh, that's weak, or to shoot down a man
Right.
for opening up. Because when you do that, it's going to be hard for him to open up again.
Right.
So we need a safe place also in our
Right.
homes and our marriages where we can make mistakes and still say, babe, it's okay. I know you were trying to do the right thing.
Right. What's interesting is my pastor once, I heard T.D. Jake say it, and also my pastor, Kimani, also said that the thing about Samson. That's what he told. He said
Absolutely.
he's talking about Samson.
Right.
I've also heard T.D. Jake say the same thing. About Samson was that what made him cheat on his wife with Delilah was that she gave him a safe space.
He could let his hair down,
Yeah.
and he literally let his hair down,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he lost his hair.
And that safe space, I didn't know until the moment where I'm at, that how important it was. Because for me, I am classically a really guarded person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just guarded. Like,
Right.
A lot of people know me,
Yeah.
but very few people know me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people know of me. They know
Right.
my name. They know, oh, he's popular. He knows everybody. They know me. But very few people like really, really the depth of who I am. Very few people know me. So that safe space, a lot of times that safe space is important.
Yes.
For me, you know what I'm saying? Just being just a really guarded person. As a man, even if we're talking about women and men in a relationship, how do you get a man, how does a woman in a time where it's so complicated, 'cause
Right.
so many people are out for the wrong reasons.
Absolutely.
How do you weave through those people, men and women?
Right.
Because these days, like I said, the world is sort of transactional. So it used to be
Very.
men, men always out to get all the good women, and all the good women end up hurt. But as a sort of reaction to what kind of the 1980s, is very, women are kind of savage.
You can say it. Yeah, you can say it. You got it out. There's truth to that.
I'm trying to be politically correct. But women are kind of, like,
Right.
And so then you find there are a lot of good men that then deal with savage women.
Absolutely. Right.
And then there are a lot of good women that deal with obviously savage men.
Right.
And so how do you get to a point where you can have a safe space? How do you, if we're talking to men, how do men get to a point where you can have when do you know a woman is a safe place?
Wow. First, a woman is a safe place when you can share your heart, your life, your strengths and weaknesses and struggles with her, even your failures and your future. And she still understand and relate to you and love you despite, and stay committed. And it goes both ways also, but that's how you know a person is a safe place. I'll give an example. My wife respects me more when I'm honest with her about something I failed at. I've seen that in my own relationship, and she encourages me to be honest. She says, babe, I want you to know that I am a safe place that you can share with me if you're weak in an area, if you need help in an area, because I'm a help me. That's what I'm here for.
That's why I'm here.
And I found that when we've had our devotion time and I'm open with her, babe, that I failed in this particular area, I can do better. And so our number one need as men is to be respected.
Right.
Women's needs, men's needs, totally different. Absolutely. And so we need respect. That's the respect. You can earn respect through honesty. To admit, that's one way, is to be honest and say, hey, babe, I don't have it all figured out.
Right.
I need help, but I'm going to go get the answer.
Right.
I'm going to work on it.
Right.
Can you help me? Because when we don't allow women to operate in a role that they were created to as helpmeets, it leads to frustration.
Absolutely.
And even what you mentioned about what prevents men from being vulnerable and opening up is a lot of men had their heart broken. Yeah, we've had our hearts broken in relationships, and so
we don't want to say it.
We don't want to say it that way though,
right? Yeah,
because
we don't
it's like heartbroken, man. You soft.
It's like that soft thing, man.
Right, but that's because that's soft. That's been the world's definition. Right. The world's definition of manhood has been confused, and so women naturally, good women, they want us to be open and vulnerable with them, and so a lot of men have had their hearts broken, and they often go from woman to woman to guard themselves. Right. To keep from being hurt ever again.
Right.
And so in other words, okay, I've been hurt, I've been scarred, but I'm never going to be the victim again.
Right.
So then you become the very person that actually hurt you.
Right. And on top of that, there has to be, because I think some men run around hurt,
right,
injured,
and
unaware.
hurt, injured, and unaware. That's so true, because a lot of times we don't know that we have a problem,
Right.
or we may know there's a problem, but we're unwilling to admit it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. So or that's weak.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Or to be hurt is weak. So we sometimes run around
Yeah.
pretending as if we're not hurt, even though we're sort of emotionally limping.
Right. Right.
Emotionally limping, just kind of making it along. I've always, and I want to get your opinion. I've always found that one of the most, because you said it earlier, but I want to touch on it some more,
Sure
because
thing.
you said, have a relationship with yourself.
Right.
And I think that one of the most powerful things you can be is self-aware, and not lying to yourself
Right.
about who you are.
Right.
And I think that's one of the most powerful things that you can have in a relationship is self-awareness.
Absolutely.
And then self-love for you. Because I think that one of the most unhealthiest, is that a word? Yeah, one of the most whatever. Y'all know what I'm saying.
The teacher's coming out of me. Hold on, Sean. Hold on. One of the most unhealthy.
Exactly. See that? One of the most unhealthy things that happen, I think, in society is when broken people connect.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because broken people don't make whole. You know what I'm saying? It's just two broken people that get together, and then and I think, and I don't mean broken as in, I mean broken as in damaged people get together.
And I would even say this, that all of us have brokenness in some area. Right. All of us have brokenness in some area. The key is the person that you're connected to. Are they an answer, or are they contributing to your problem? And, are you adding to each other? Because even with my wife and I, she's strong in areas that I'm not.
Right.
And there are areas where I've added on to her that she's become better in. So it becomes a healthy exchange.
Right.
And I think that's really, really key. But I understand what you're saying, because there are a lot of people who try to fill God-sized voids with human-sized substitutes. In other words, we go from person to person.
Wait a minute.
And what that looks like, we go from person to person, dating and dating, not realizing that we're trying to fill holes that nobody can satisfy.
Absolutely.
And this is the problem in our culture, that just like wearing summer clothes in the middle of winter never makes summer come faster.
Absolutely.
So going from person to person, dating people and having sex with them in order to fill voids is not going to bring your mate faster. But it can get, like wearing summer clothes in the middle of winter, it can get you sick though.
It will get you sick.
And then what happens is you start. Now, if I were to take 2 index cards, and let's just imagine right now, and I have tape on them.
Right.
Every time I stick 2 index cards together, y'all heard that loud clap. I take 2 index cards. Every time I stick them together and I tear them apart, I call that, when we just hook up or Netflix and chill or whatever we call that, or going from person to person.
Right.
Each time you sleep with somebody, not your mate, you just, you don't realize that you're bleeding. You're just connecting with people, trying to fill a void that person can satisfy, and you leave. Every time you stick to somebody and separate, you decrease the ability for you to stick to something else again. So you tear a piece off. So you're leaving yourself with all of these different people. And then you meet someone that really wants to love you. You really want to love them. But what do you have to give them? You know what I'm saying? And so, and we see, like you said, we see this with men, we see this with women. I believe that it's a universal problem, that there are a lot of people deep down that don't know how to love because you didn't see that example. Right. You have love, and then you have lust. Love gives, lust takes. And lust is a selfish desire.
That's simply deep.
Yeah. Lust is an intense craving for something, that's forbidden to you. And so when you have lust, there can be lust for power, there can be lust for sex, there can be, the different types of lust. And then what happens where we get in trouble is when we get in relationships based on lust instead of love. Love is proven through seasons, through storms. So, and I always say that, when you want to see how much somebody really loves you, if they love you, go through a storm. Let the money
Absolutely.
dry up.
Come on, yo.
Let somebody lose a job.
Exactly.
Let somebody lose a house.
Right.
Let somebody lose something.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now what?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was right.
Because I think we have it all mixed up, and
Yeah.
hip hop culture fools us so much.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we see it on the shows, on Love and Hip Hop, and whatever. You see this guy with all these girls, he's got all this money and all of this stuff, you know, and to the world, okay, that's a man. He's doing what he got to do. But deep down, this same man that has all of this stuff going on outwardly, and there's nothing wrong with having money and things, but there are a lot of people that have all of these natural things in place, but on the inside, they're broken boys. They're broken boys posing to be men. And you know, that's just, and it's like something that's a universal problem.
You like you touched on a lot of things, but I you know, I don't want to run out. How do you know, let's say we're dating somebody, and you know, how do you know it's love from a man point of view?
Absolutely.
From a man point of view, like, you know, because I think that a lot of times we get love. I don't want to be too complicated, but we get love and feelings
Absolutely.
misconstrued as the same. And yeah,
Yes.
and love is not necessarily feelings, because
Right.
feelings can change.
That's right.
And love can be consistent. Can I love you when I hate you?
Come on.
You know?
Talk about that.
Like
Woo.
when you
Oh,
on
my goodness.
when you on my last nerve, when I don't even like you. I think that a lot of times we get, you know, like, so how can, you know, one, you know, just be in a relationship and know that I love this person?
I would say is that one way you can tell that a man truly loves someone or something is by what he makes sacrifices for.
Come on,
People
yo.
will make sacrifices for the things they value, but require convenience for the things they don't value.
Right.
So one way, when I was growing in love, and I like to call it growing in love,
Absolutely.
with my wife, I was making sacrifices to be with her.
Right.
Time. I would say, hey, man, look, can I hang out with you another time? I got to go hang out with her. You know, I need to spend time. So
Right.
one is sacrifice. That's one proof of love. Two, a willingness to spend time and to invest time, a willingness to give. So sacrifice, willingness to give, and really a willingness to prepare for the future. And I'm not saying those are the only ways to determine love,
Right.
but definitely when we start focusing on something, because men were created to do what I call three things. There are three things when it comes to our role. I believe personally, this is my personal belief, that we were created to profess, we were created to protect, and we were created to provide. And when we talk about profess, every man in some way, shape, or form through his actions has professed love for someone or something.
Right.
It could, and in some way, sadly, some of our love has been misguided, though.
Right.
There, men will make sacrifices for what they love. There are men that, I mean, will grow up, you know, be in gangs. They will make sacrifices for their set. They will make sacrifices. They will, you know, go after drugs,
Right.
sell drugs. Those
Absolutely.
are sacrifices because you're
Absolutely.
giving us up something. So it's a matter of redirecting our love in the right place.
Right.
And then protect. We're protectors by nature.
Right.
And you're a husband. You know how we can get when it comes to our house, when it comes to our wives, and
Right.
certain things.
Right.
You know, I've even seen in some ways, even before I got married, I said, God, you know, help me with my security and manhood. Am I really a protector? But then situations will present themselves where
Right.
I'm jumping like, let me help my wife. No, wait a minute. Don't talk to her like that. Don't do this. You know,
Right.
we were created to protect in the right ways, and we were
Absolutely.
created to provide. And so whatever you make a sacrifice for or sacrifices for, that's proof of what you love.
You know, you said, what does it mean when you said give?
Right. When I'm talking about give, so
Are we talking about Christian Louboutins?
no, wait a minute. Hey. Why you starting
Because
stuff up in here, man?
that's a gift and a sacrifice.
Oh, that's a big sacrifice. One I can't afford right now. But definitely, even financially as well. Let's even talk about that. You know, whatever when I'm talking about giving, what you give your time to,
Right.
what you give your money to, and what
Right.
you give your attention to.
Right.
Time, money, attention.
Yeah. What like I like how you put that, because it's like, will I give it all for this
Right.
right now?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's
Yeah.
will I drop all of this,
Mm-hmm.
or my willingness to drop all of this right now for this one person?
That's right.
And I think that, in my opinion, having been in this situation before, if that love is reciprocated by her not allowing you to do that.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I would drop it all, but she won't let you.
Mm.
Right? Because, I think, that's, what I'm saying? Like, understanding that love, how you can see when love is reciprocated.
Exactly.
On
That's
the other
good.
side.
Reciprocation. You said something very key, because we mistake relationships for being one-sided. And one mistake we make is that we're not honest up front about what our expectations are.
Yes.
And a lot of times we don't ask or demand that people be honest
Right.
with us, or with, when you're talking about singleness and people approaching you to ask you out. Ladies, it is okay to ask a million questions. Okay, first, why did you approach me? What are your motives? How's your, what are your intentions?
Right.
Where is this going? How's your relationship with your family? How's your relationship with your aunts, uncles? How's your relationship with soap and water? I mean, how do you feel about and so we just have to really be completely honest. Yeah, because hygiene, and that's even an important thing. I mean, in any relationship, even as just forget being in a relationship, as a person, being a person, period.
Right.
And that's an important thing, especially in marriage. A lot of times we'll do what it takes to get someone.
Right.
But then you have a lot of relationships where, you've been with this person for years, and, now I've got them. You stop doing what it took to get them.
Right. Absolutely.
And just like a car needs maintenance, our relationships and our marriages need fine-tuning as well.
Right. Do you think about the person more than you think about yourself?
That's another good one. Yes.
Does the person think about you more than they think about themselves? And, do I move in a way that I'm moving, how does she feel about what I'm doing over how do I feel about what I'm doing?
Right.
And does she move in the same way? I think that's a hard position to come to in this particular society, because, like I said, everything is so transactional.
Right.
And after, especially Black women, having suffered through, I'm gonna say it like this, suffered through the mid 80s to current. Right. And that when hip hop culture changed from, just from the party, party central, which it was in the early 80s, to being gangster rap, misogynistic, anything that's sold.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And while I love hip hop, understand like the economics of hip hop, like we were so economically damaged as Black people,
right,
that we were trying to do what worked. Exactly. And while we were doing that, we devalued our women. In trying to do what worked. And so nobody trusts each other. What can you do for me? Sort of society.
Right.
And really, relationships are really what can we do for each other. And I think that, or what can I do for you? And then if I'm thinking about you all the time and you're thinking about me all the time, then we actually have a balance of an actual actual relationship. Like, I there's so many men that'll, just arbitrarily, I don't know, quit their job. Right? Because I don't feel like working. or I don't feel like, I don't like this. I don't, versus, what am I doing to improve your life?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anyway, I'm off.
No. And
I'm
you
off on
just
a
made, when
tangent.
you said that, you made me think about something.
Mm-hmm.
That another proof of love is a willingness to weather storms and embrace challenges together. Knowing that, hey, this is a purpose for why we got together, and we're going to work through this. Babe, I know you lost your job. I'm going to be a year ago, I was unemployed for an entire year. And I was looking for a job, and just, and that's a key, guys. You have to give an effort to, just because you don't make a certain amount of money does not mean that you cannot lead in your house.
Right.
And I'm going to even debunk that myth as well, because money is not a measure of manhood.
Right.
It's a tool, not a measuring stick.
Right.
And now, is responsibility with finances important? Yes.
Absolutely.
It's very important, because our ladies want to know that they can trust us.
Right.
Absolutely. However, there has to be a mutual goal as a partnership. So I was unemployed for an entire year. That was one of the most challenging seasons of our life. In fact, actually, last year was one of the most challenging seasons of my life with my wife financially. We went through many different storms.
Right.
And it was a test. And there were times that, it really created such a dependency on God. And it also exposed weaknesses that we needed to address in our marriage. Because money will do that too. It will bring to the surface true motives. It will bring to the surface the true heart. And so I remember being unemployed for an entire year, looking for jobs, going through all of this. And I just thank God for my wife, because, again, Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added. We really understood and grew in our knowledge of what true love was, because I said to myself, where I am is not where I'm going to remain.
Right.
This is a season.
Right.
And she saw me with eyes of revelation. And even, in fact, during that time, I remember Good Men Do Exist being birthed, and just us sitting down and talking about the vision. This was my heart, and she helped me put words to it. And so we weathered that storm, and so that's how your love grows. Now, when storms come, that's where you're going to see true lust or true love. And it goes back to the why. What are our expectations? And I think where we go wrong is we don't talk about, we don't sit down and say, okay, as we're dating, what's your definition of a husband? What's my definition of a wife? What are you expecting? What are our roles? What are our responsibilities? As we're going down that path.
Right.
And so the key is communication.
What is it? If there was one thing that you could say to a young man, I mean, I know you probably got this off the top just because.
Oh, man.
But if there was one thing you could say to a young man to really just, teach him how to love.
Absolutely.
What would it be that you would say to a young man to teach him how to love,
Right.
love a woman, love someone.
Absolutely. Well, first, I would say to all of my young kings, and to a king, and because I call it men, we're kings.
Right.
I say, first thing, you have to accept value. You have to accept value and love yourself. And you have to know that you have worth and value. And a lot of emphasis in our culture and even in the church is placed on women knowing their worth and women knowing their value. But men, we need to be told we have worth and value too. We need to be told that we're kings. We need to be told that we don't have to settle.
Right.
We need to be told that, hey, we're better than our past.
Right.
And I would tell them first, you have to know who you are and embrace your weaknesses. Be honest. One of the things my dad told me and my brother growing up, son, you can make 1,000,000 mistakes. Do me a favor, never lie about any of them. My dad would not, discipline me for making mistakes. He would get upset and discipline me for lying
About
because he
things,
told me, if you lie, you'll cheat. If you lie, you'll steal.
Right.
And so I say that to say, first, embrace who you are, know that you have worth. And when it comes to loving and knowing how to love a woman, that, because you can't expect to be happy in any relationship if you haven't first learned how to be happy with yourself.
Right.
Now, when it
Absolutely.
comes to the woman, understand that you loving her or you loving each other does not mean that you have to be alike. You have to be just like each other.
Absolutely.
And that's where we make a mistake. You don't want somebody that's just like you.
As a matter of fact, like these days it's so hard, there is a difference between men and women that is absolutely okay. Like even like sometimes when you go to counseling, right? It's the world is so trended towards women that women would be like, I want you to be more sensitive. I want you to be more basically more like a woman. And it's almost like the moment you act like that a little bit, they be like, "Yeah, what's wrong with you?"
Right.
Like.
Can I win? You say you want me to be more sensitive.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm being more sensitive. Why you being like that?
But actually, what I found is a lot of times the more sensitive they want you to be, it's really not more sensitive. Sometimes it's just more attentive. Sometimes it's just understanding them more.
Right.
And I think it's okay to be a man as a man. You don't have to act more like a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think the answer to men. I don't think the answer to being a man in love is to act like a woman in love. And I think that sometimes women kind of mistake that, like, be like me. And I think that's important what you just said. It's not necessarily about be like.
Right.
You don't have to you don't have to act exactly like someone else.
It has to do more so with listening to understand
Absolutely.
rather than listening to respond,
Right.
which is something that I'm constantly trying to work on even in my marriage, because even in our relationship, my wife doesn't feel respected if I'm talking and cutting her off while she's trying to talk.
Absolutely.
And so and as I'm talking about, listening to understand,
Yes.
that's one way you prove the respect and the love. Hey, listen. And so being a man means you take time that even if you don't agree, we learn how to disagree agreeably.
Yes.
Like, hey, I hear you. I'm going to work on this. I understand where you're coming from. And one way you can show the person that you're being more attentive, I like that word that you use, is repeating back to them what they said.
Absolutely.
To let them know that you heard them.
Yeah.
And then putting the phone down and giving eye contact. It's little basic. A lot of times having a more loving relationship is nothing deep or heavy you have to do. It's the little things.
Right.
It's the small things that we miss.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely. I think one of the most important things you could ever do with your woman, your wife coming up is really, really study them.
Oh my goodness! You become a student. You talking about you? Okay. I see you, Shawn. I see you.
You really just study, like
Right.
take notes.
That's right.
What does she like? What's her favorite food? What's her favorite color? What does she do when she walks into the house?
That's right.
What is her process? What is her, what I mean? Because sometimes, because sometimes I think people take a default, this is what all women like, or all women this, all women that, and there's really no such thing. There is your woman,
and then there are other women. Exactly.
but
Everybody's
your
not the
woman
same. You're right.
And they're, everyone, all of them are different.
Right.
And so some of them may have, similarities, but I have similarities with a lot of different men, yet none of them are me.
Exactly.
You know
There's
what I'm
only
saying?
one Shawn
Right.
Broadnax.
Right,
There's only
exactly.
one.
Yeah, so but yeah, I'm that's tell me before because we're almost at our time.
Man, already.
Tell me more about Good Men Do Exist.
Absolutely.
I know you guys, you've done a bunch of events around like the Maryland, DC area.
Yeah.
What is it? What does it consist of? Like, what is it?
So Good Men Do Exist. The mission, as I shared earlier, was to empower, equip, and encourage men.
Sure.
And to mobilize. And basically, So you have that, and to tell the stories of men everywhere that are making a difference.
Right.
Because especially in the wake of the racial injustice that we see, we have a
Right.
lot of black men that have been murdered, profiled, and the goal is to just empower men and let them know that they have worth. So they're different. It looks different in different ways. So first you have the clothing brand, which
Sure.
I have my hoodie on. You have the clothing brand, which more designs are still coming and on the way, more styles, more collections, which is the lifestyle brand and represents and sends a message. Then you also have the men's empowerment arm, where we have different meetups and
Right.
events in the DMV.
I've been to one.
Yeah.
It was powerful.
Wow.
To say the least.
Wow, man.
It's something
I'm
about
honored.
men getting together.
Yes.
You know, it's something about men getting together
Mhm.
and just being able to fellowship as brothers.
Yeah.
That is so just empowering. That's the
Right.
word I'm looking for. It's such a fresh breath of fresh air just to get some men together. Where we're not in a place like a competitive sort of place, but we're in a place where we're feeding off each other.
That's it. And so that's exactly what it is. So for the fellas listening, what you can expect when you come to a Good Men Do Exist meetup or an event is, first of all, judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
It's a judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
None of us are perfect. None of us have it all together. Secondly, what we share and what we open up about, our scars, whatever we share, it stays in that room.
Good.
You know, it stays in that room.
Yeah.
It's a safe place where you can speak your piece in peace.
Right.
You know,
That's good.
you know, because we don't get, and the reason we can have events and it's supposed to end an hour and a half later. There are times, and we've gone over 2 hours because guys just don't want to leave because men don't have enough outlets.
Right.
To be able to express themselves and have brotherhood and get the healing that we may need. So you have that arm. Also, we hang out, we do bowling, dinner, just doing life together. Sometimes you just want to hang out, get some lunch, and we're going to have some events coming up this year. Also, you have and then what I like to call the mentorship arm.
Right.
So you have the lifestyle, the brand, the clothing brand, the men's empowerment brand, and the youth mentorship arm, which also helps young men as well.
Right.
For example, I was really honored that last summer we worked with the Prince George's County Keys program, Summer Youth Explorers program, and we went in and I also worked for that program, and we provided men's empowerment for the young men there as well.
Wow.
And got to do some mentorship and have uncut conversations on manhood with them.
Right.
And also gave away some free apparel as well.
That's always
and,
cool.
I'm looking to take it into schools as well. Like now I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
And our goal is really to grow that and eventually take it to other states.
Right.
Where you have men in different places who have Good Men Do Exist groups.
Right.
They're ambassadors and even develop a book and a curriculum.
Oh,
So
wow.
it has different arms to it. There's more stuff coming to it. And as I'm praying and keeping God at the forefront, and first of all, my goal is Good Men Do Exist is not about one man.
Right.
It's not about Jeffrey Tyler.
Right.
It's about us collectively. And so if I die or if I pass on, this can be passed on. And it's something that will not die with me.
Right.
So that's just one part. That's part of it.
Man, this whole conversation is empowering.
Wow.
Man,
I'm grateful, man.
This whole conversation. Before we leave, there's always the thing that I do at the end of this, which is hold up, which is inclusive of gifts.
Oh, man. Don't tell me. Come on.
So, here's the thing.
Wow.
This was originally for you and your wife. So tell her, if she's not still watching, that the gift is for her too.
I think she's still watching. Wow. Thank you, brother. We are honored. Oh, man.
I didn't even ask you. I was supposed to ask you a question.
Well, let me see.
I'm gonna ask you, did y'all
Good Men Do Exist. No.
y'all cook together?
Oh, man. Yeah. And I'm developing that area. My wife is the chef in the house.
Really?
She's the chef. Yeah.
Me and my
Let me see what.
both cook.
Right. What do we have here? Oh, man. Oh, are you serious? This is oh man, an apron?
Yeah. That's gonna ask you if you cook. See, that one,
brother.
That one is for the missus.
Oh, look at this.
That one's
Dude.
for the missus.
Wow, babe. Look, this is for you. Wow. The missus. Be inspired, then inspire the world around you. That's us. Dude, thank you. I want to take a look at mine. Let me see.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. I want to take good care of it. Let me see. Oh, man. Oh, no.
And the oven mitts.
And the oven mitts. Dude, thank you. Look at this. Mr. and Mrs. Forever. Wow. This is definitely going to go to use when I bake my chicken and my vegetables. And let's see here. Another one. Mr. and Mrs. Forever. Let's see mine. Hold on. Oh, with the mustache. Okay. I am so grateful. Thanks a lot, man. I love this.
Man.
Trust me, it would definitely go to use.
Good, man.
Especially for a date night. You know, I'm coming in and cooking. And
Yeah, man. Come up with a good recipe.
Yes, sir.
You know what's
Oh,
really
man.
cool? Those date nights where you take a class.
Yes.
Your cooking class.
Ah.
You done that before?
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and Jennifer would appreciate this. We need to do it again.
Right.
So that would be perfect.
Yeah. Brother, thank you so much, man. Definitely a good conversation. Definitely loved having you here, man. We gotta do this more often, man.
Absolutely, I
Because
agree.
it's so many. I think that we talked a lot about love tonight, but there's so many other areas to tackle when it comes. I don't know which
Absolutely.
month is Men's Month,
Yeah.
but whatever month that is, probably
Yes.
June.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably
June, yeah, because then there's Father's Day.
yeah,
and
I think it's probably June.
Absolutely.
But whatever month that is, man, we got to do a whole thing just
Yes.
on men, and because I think that, man, I think in this society, in this culture, it's really time to change the narrative and change
Yes.
the focus, and really, just change what the thought is about what it is to be a man,
Yeah.
what it is to be a real man. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And not just this culture thought on real men to, whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway, man, thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you guys for hanging out. This
Yes.
is the Elevation Podcast. Just remember, www.ShawnRiff-Raff.com is my website, Elevation Podcast, all of the episodes. This is actually episode 14. So, I'm excited. Like, this thing is really, really going. And, all next month. This month was Love Month. This was the last episode of Love Month, and in that series. Next month is Women's Empowerment. I've got and March is 5 Tuesdays. There's 5 Tuesdays in March. So we've got to line up all of the Tuesdays. We got to line up. So it's going to be really, really cool. We're going to be able to talk about, women's empowerment and how to help the ladies out here, help out the queens. It's going to be cool.
Right.
My name is Shawn Riff-Raff. This is the Elevation Podcast. Don't forget that the Elevation Podcast will be available probably later on tonight or tomorrow on Spotify, Apple Podcast, on wherever you listen to podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of that stuff. It'll be available there. Thank y'all very much. We out. Peace.